Hello everyone, today we are going to be doing a long overdue random creature design. So let's hop into Procreate and I'll tell you what animals we're going to be using in this mix-up and we'll just get into the process. I feel like it's been a while since I've done a random creature design, and that is something that needed to be fixed. I wasn't sure what exactly I was feeling inspired to create as far as the general vibe of the creature, so I ended up refreshing my Google Sheets random animal generator until it landed on a combination that sparked an idea. Those three animals were the Somali goat, the Turkish Angora cat, and a palm squirrel. I had an idea for how I wanted to combine these animals almost as soon as I saw their pictures. I knew this combination of animals wasn't going to create a super unique, extravagant design, but since it was the first one that inspired me, that's what I went with. My initial idea sketch for this creature had the face leaning more toward the squirrel, but as I drew it more, it started to shift more toward the cat. I'm not sure if that was just out of a subconscious personal preference or if I'm just more used to drawing cats, but that kind of happened without me even realizing it. I tried to combine the body types of the squirrel and the cat and ended up with something akin to a ferret or an eastern dragon. I think these noodle bodies are really fun to draw, especially when I've been drawing canine type bodies by the truckload in my free time lately. I'm not 100% sure how often I draw noodle bodies on this channel, but I feel like I do it a lot, but you know, everyone has to indulge themselves sometimes, so don't come for me. But yeah, I was having so much fun doodling this creature that I think I set a personal record for how quickly I was able to hammer out this design and settle on its final form. As you can tell, the only goat influence I added was really the ears, which I think are super cute in combination with this level of fluff. Like I said, it was a simple design, but simple doesn't necessarily mean bad, which is something I've really struggled to teach myself these past few years. I would have done this whole thing in my sketchbook, but I really wanted to do a marker doodle to go along with this, and I wanted it to actually look decent, so I decided to do one of the sketches on Procreate and then print it out on my Rendr marker paper and just tape it into my sketchbook. And if you're wondering, the washi tape is made by Thankshoe, and I'll have a link to them down below. Also, as usual, the Procreate brush I use for sketching and lining is the dry ink brush at a slightly lowered opacity. Doing this design got me thinking about how I used to be one of those people who forced myself to go with the first prompt when I was doing randomly generated stuff like this, even when I really wasn't feeling it. I know it serves some people to do that sometimes as a challenge, but to be honest, it just isn't for me. I got a job, I got chores, I got errands. The last thing I want to do with my precious free time is to spend it trying to draw something that really doesn't inspire me. So these days I've allowed myself the freedom to keep hitting refresh until I find something that inspires me. I can't speak for everyone, but for me, allowing myself that freedom and not trapping myself in ideas that don't make me want to create has helped me cultivate a more positive relationship with my art. There are still aspects of art that I struggle to view positively, but the less I try to restrain myself to arbitrary rules, the more fun I have, and the more fun I have, the more I learn in the process. It's definitely a more ideal headspace than the artist I used to be, who would spend hours or days trying to force myself to solve creative problems I had no interest in, and thereby developing an association between art and frustration. So there's that. I don't know, it's just something that I've noticed a lot on YouTube, especially, that these poor artists are doing challenges like this and just getting really discouraged trying to make something work, and I feel so bad. I can feel their pain through the screen, and I don't want to do that to y'all or myself. And that's the main reason I don't show footage of me generating the prompt, because I will sit there for ages until I find one I like, and I don't think anyone wants to sit through that. But anyways, tangent over, let's get back to the actual creature. So my intention for this critter is that it's a domestic animal and that it's basically a cat with hands, which sounds like a terrible time, but the cuteness would make up for it, I imagine. They are about the height of a medium dog, but I don't think they would weigh much at all since they're mostly fur. The Turkish Angora really came through with the coloration, with most members of the species being either piebald or completely white. Solid colored ones do exist, but I think it'd be more common in their wild ancestors. Color that is visible in their fur is usually very light brown or tan, and they do have stripes running down their body similar to the palm squirrel. Heterochromia is pretty common in the species. Their paws are about as dexterous as your average squirrel, which is bound to get pretty chaotic when paired with their feline brains. I noticed that Turkish Angoras sometimes have really long fur tufts in their ears, so I hinted at that with these creatures as well. Personality-wise, they would be affectionate on their own terms, as well as independent and mischievous, and would probably take a lot of effort to train. I imagine they would have been first domesticated for hunting and pest control. If they were real, the owners would probably take part in sports that play to their natural instincts, like barn hunt and maybe some scent work. They definitely could not be trusted around small animals. Oh, and they're expert tree climbers as well, so having them leashed when outside would be a must, or they're likely to just dart up a tree and ignore you when you try to call them back down. In the wild, they'd probably live in family groups consisting of the parents and their adult and juvenile kits. Meat in the form of smaller animals such as rabbits, birds, and fish would be the bulk of their diet, which would be supplemented with nuts and berries. They would rarely attack animals larger than themselves, but if they were desperate enough, their primary hunting method would be jumping down on their prey from the trees. They would hunt smaller prey, much like a domestic house cat. Their wild ancestors would have been primarily found in thick, temperate rainforests. That's about all I have for these guys, but if y'all have any ideas for them, feel free to sound off in the comments. In keeping with all the other creatures I've designed recently, I am simply too lazy to name them, so suggestions for that are welcome as well. I noticed when I was doing these sketches that my style came out a bit differently than what I normally do on this channel. I've been drawing in my simple ARPG style so much that some of my habits from that have bled over into my higher effort art, but I think it worked out for the cutesy, soft feel of this creature. The more I practice drawing simple art for fun or just for convenience, the more I've learned about doing more with less lines. I used to use a lot more lines to convey shapes, but over the past few years I've begun to be able to express forms in a more succinct way, although I do still enjoy doing sketchy and messy pieces, as y'all have seen me do pretty frequently. I'm sure I've said it before, but it bears repeating for anyone who needs to hear it. It's okay to have several styles and change them up depending on your mood or what you're drawing. I do this a lot, and while it used to bother me that I couldn't settle on a signature style, I now just see it as another way in which I can expand my artistic toolkit. It also helps keep me from getting bored, which is always a plus. I love how soft and simple this creature turned out, and I feel like this might be one I actually come back to later because it was just so much fun to draw. I'm going to try and go with a more complex design for the next random creature I do, but for now, I hope y'all enjoyed watching the creation of this poofy noodle, and it brought us one step closer to another sketchbook tour, so we're about a quarter of the way there. Should have it finished by the time I'm retired at this rate. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.